if you can hear us now.
There you go.
Just give us a thumbs up if
That
you can
worked,
hear
Uncle
us.
Luke.
Let's see what let's see what everyone's got to
Or maybe
say.
we should just do a freshie.
Can you guys hear? Can you hear us? Give us a thumbs up. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys for giving us that heads up. Let's talk. Let's start again.
Okay.
So,
ready?
The number one question that we get asked as real estate agents is, when is the best time to sell? That's the number one question that we get asked, believe it or not, over and over and over again.
And I think sometimes for people, they don't actually know what to ask a lot of the time. Like it's a bit of a nerving thing when you've just met a person. It's like, what I'm going to talk about now, I've just met you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people will just throw questions out there that are really open questions.
Yeah.
And then so people often, that will be the number one open question that people ask. They'll actually go, you know what, it's winter. Is it a good time to actually sell? And then they just sort of sit back.
Yeah. I'm not going to sell now because, I'm going to wait till spring.
Yeah.
But guys, hear this. The seasons have absolutely nothing to do with when the best time to sell your property is. They have nothing to do with it. So if we have a look, let's have a look at November, December of last year, the peak of summer. The market was at its absolute rock bottom.
Yep.
So if that's the case about the seasons and waiting for the weather to warm up, then November, December should be absolutely flying off the charts in terms of, being the best time to sell your property. And right now in winter should be the worst. Yet we're seeing a very, very strong market. So the seasons have nothing to do with selling your property. So when is the best time to sell? Mark, what do you reckon? When is the absolute best time to sell your property?
I love the saying, it's not time in, it's time in. So I really feel passionate about buying at the top of the market, buying at the bottom of the market, selling at the top of the market, selling at the bottom of the market, because it's that length of time in the market. So I actually don't put any emphasis. I think you just do what you got to do when you can do it. We've bought at the top of the market, as real estate agents, knowing it's the top of the market. It's the wrong time to buy, but we thought, you know what, we're going to hold the family home for a very, very, very long time, and we just needed it.
And the situation worked for us. So my response to my clients when they ask me that question, when is the best time to sell your property, is when it works for you. That's the most important time. Now, this lady yesterday was an elderly lady, and she was very nervous about getting her property on the market. She hadn't been on the market in a really long time, and she was adamant that she did not want to bring the property on until at least October.
Why?
So, when I asked her, and I said to her, may I ask why October? Is there a particular reason? Sometimes it's just the way it works for people. Sometimes it's the way their finances are structured. People have got a whole lot of things going on in the background. But this particular lady's response, and it's one I hear all the time, was, I'm not ready to move out 6 weeks after that. So, and then I said to her, do you mean with regards to settlement? She said, yes. Now, guys, understand, we consider 42 days, 6 weeks, to be what is known as a standard settlement period. But that part of the sale is extremely negotiable. People don't realise this. So you could be getting your property on the market now, which was my advice to her, because it's a good, strong market with not a lot of stock, and she can get her property settled if the purchaser agrees as well, whenever she likes. And as an agent, I would negotiate that for her.
So if you just tuned in, we're talking about the number one asked question in real estate for our agency, and that is, when is it a good time to sell? And I think in conclusion, it really does come down to personal preference there. Summer, the first thing people think is summer, winter, hot, cold, good, bad, and it's not that at all.
Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Brendan made a great point there. Desperation causes people to do silly things. Best not to wait until you're desperate. I always say, Brendan, that's a really valid point. You're always a great seller when you don't have to sell. because when when clients come to me and say, oh my goodness, we have to sell, we've bought something and now we must sell, all of a sudden you're time driven and you're not price driven. So you're a much better seller when you don't have to sell.
And people don't realise that buying and selling is in most part the same transaction. 60 to 70, fact, about 70% of people that are actually looking to buy are looking to sell. It's actually the same. It's a severally joint transaction. So I think when you're looking at your personal circumstances and you are looking at selling, it's about what am I going into next, what I'm going to buy next.
Okay, so that's
and how does that work financially, and size and money and all of that sort of stuff. Retiring.
That's a really valid point, Mark, because
it meshes in.
People don't want to be homeless. Again, if we just draw back to my client from yesterday who was nervous about getting her property on the market now, she wanted to wait until October or November. She thought it was just a 6-week settlement. She didn't realise that part of the sale was very negotiable, as in if the purchaser and the seller agrees, you can do a 9-month settlement. I just had a 9-month settlement, something that settled on Monday. You could do a 12-month settlement, 6 months, whatever you like, and it can be a date. It doesn't have to be days, months, weeks. You might say, I need to settle on the 11th of November.
If you negotiate a settlement correctly as a real estate agent with a client, the client can have the ability to sell for more and the buyer can have the ability to buy for more. That one you just settled now was a 9-month settlement and actually was millions. They paid millions for that privilege of the long settlement. The seller didn't care as long as they got the money, and they got millions more. And the buyer was like, I really need the time. So it is really, really important, and it's the number one question that we get asked.
It is the number one question we get asked. But the money often does the talking, guys. So yesterday, again, if I just draw back to this client, I said to her, in fairness, this was about a $2.5 million property, but I said to her, if someone came in the door and said $3 million, but I need you out tomorrow, you're going to fly out the door. So often the money will do the talking. I do just want to talk about this reducible settlement, because a lot of people don't understand what that is.
It's a winner.
A lot of people don't realise that no one wants to be homeless, right? So people are selling their properties. They're nervous about where to next. They haven't bought yet, and they're worried that they're not going to be able to find something. So I always say to my clients, why don't we just ask for a longer settlement that can be brought in when you find your property? So why don't we ask for a 16-week settlement, and then you may go out next week and find your perfect dream property, and then we can request to have that settlement brought in. And that's called a reducible settlement.
Yep. You can demand.
Lots of people don't know about that.
Request, you can demand it gets shortened.
Yeah, lots of people don't know about it.
And the thing that really confuses people is it's one way. The purchaser can't. The purchaser can't ask for that reduction in settlement time or demand, but you can.
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage for people. And if you've got that flexibility where you've sold on a 6-month settlement, you're like, well, I've got 6 months to find a place. I'm not stressed. I've got my money in my hand when I need it.
Yep.
And then you see something 4 weeks later, you go, oh, I need to settle straight away. You simply just ring up and demand and get it shortened straight away. And it's pre-approved.
And it's unreal. So at least it gives you the comfort of knowing that you've got plenty of time. And I can't tell you how many times for my vendors, when they've needed this, longer settlement, they're nervous again that they're going to be homeless. And they've called me, within a couple of weeks going, you won't believe, I found the perfect property. It's like, I figured you might.
And much the same thing, you can do that with a deposit. So I was on the phone yesterday with a client and they said, no cash.
Yeah. This is big.
I'm like, that's cool. Don't worry about it. We can use the deposit from the person who buys your place. And they're like, really? It's like, yep, we just got to get that negotiated prior to the property.
Some solicitors don't love it though. So some purchasers' solicitors don't love what's called, what Mark's talking about, is a release of deposit. So it's using the purchaser's deposit that sits in an agent's trust account to go and purchase another property. Now, a lot of purchasers' solicitors, they don't love it. So sometimes, there's a bit of an arm wrestle that goes on, but it definitely gets done. I had that situation the other day with the property that we sold on Saturday, and the purchaser was using the deposit from the sale of their property. Release of deposit, that's called. So guys, you don't need to be homeless. You can request these longer settlements. That'll give you the time that you need. The number one real estate question that we get asked is, when is the best time to sell? Number one question we get asked.
So the number one question I ask is, where are you going next?
Yeah.
Because that often helps me create a better sale purchase experience for the client when we understand that whole deal of what people are doing and where they're actually going. It's huge.
Massive.
Huge.
All right, what else? Any questions, guys? Anyone out there? Good morning to everyone who's tuned in. Rosie, I saw you sneak in there. Don't think I didn't see you. Michelle, Luke, Brendan, hope you guys are well. Let us know if there's any other questions out there that we can assist you guys with. But the market.
This is your show, everyone. So if you have any stuff you want us to cover, flick it over to us. We'll do it for
100%. 100%.
What else before we go, Liz?
Market's still really good, actually. On last Saturday, we had a few auctions. One of them was passed in. Actually, two of them were passed in. One we got done right after the auction, for more than what the vendor was looking for. It was quite a unique situation. And then the third auction on Saturday was just crazy, actually. 6 bidders, 200,000 above reserve for a really, really old property in Avalon. But then after that, lots of sales this week, Mark. Still loads of buyers around.
Huge. Look, you know what? People just need to get stuff done. They're like, you know what? Interest rates, we can afford it. Let's do it. And I think there's a lot more people out there willing to say they can't afford it, to say, if it bleeds, it reads. And I think at the end of the day, people are really there are people out there hurting with interest rates. But if you're not hurting with interest rates, you're quite mute. So you don't really hear that part of people out there. But in most part, that's proof that there are lots of great transactions happening out there. Lots of properties selling in the marketplace. There's a level of comfort with these interest rates. It may well be the new norm. I know we're constantly waiting for them not to go up and constantly waiting for them to go down. It's either one thing or the other. But at the end of the day, I think if you look at these rates over 50 years or 30 years, they're actually a pretty good rate. At 5-6%.
I don't think people ever understood interest rates as much as they do at the moment. Like, it's just, there's been so much information about this.
It's interest rate anxiety.
Well, there 100% there is. And the sentiment out there seems to be that people feel there's going to be maybe one or two more interest rates.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting, and I get some big group numbers coming through my open homes. Buyers just don't talk about interest rates. It's really bizarre. Like,
it's personal.
No, they don't say, like, we're worried about, the interest rates, or, they just don't talk about it. I've found
personal though. Like, I don't want.
No, but 3-4 months ago, it was a big topic of conversation at my opens.
Look, I think if you're comfortable with it, you're not going to just walk around here and go, "I'm really comfortable with paying a higher interest rate because of what I earn." But it's not socially acceptable. But if you are going through pain, it's to sit at
for sure.
To sit at a barbecue, go, mate, these rates, they're killing me.
No,
So I think there's, again, if it bleeds, it reads.
No, that conversation I do have away from open homes, so
Right. So I think it's definitely out there. It's definitely clear.
Yeah.
And that is the new norm for an interest rate now.
Yeah.
I think that, and it always has been. So people are just getting used to it and they're just transacting.
Yeah. All right, that's it, guys. That is a show. They should have been about in the 80s. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Seriously. 17%. People would tell you things were really different then, though. But they were,
you don't understand.
Ridiculous.
It's not the same.
17%. Yeah. True, though.
What do kids say? What do the kids say to us? You don't understand. It was different back then.
Yes. You're getting old when your kids say that to you. Isn't that the truth? All right, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And thank you for tuning in as always. Bye.